Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Apocalypse Podcast. I'm one co-host, Kyle. With me is my brother, Taylor. Say hi.
Hello, hi.
Nice. Let's get this shit out of the way. Today, we're doing another movie podcast because Taylor couldn't think of a single fucking gaming idea to do this week, which is what we were gonna do. So everybody in the audience, boo him right now. Give us a thumbs down. Write a really hateful comment. Let's give a Taylor. Let's give us a pause for them to.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. I forgot.
All right, that's long enough. Everyone can type like 300 words per minute now. So
wow,
probably type some
dang,
essays.
They're still going. That's crazy. Crazy.
Yeah. What? What's your excuse? Huh?
You
forgot to poop.
Forgot a little bit to think harder
you had to poop so
about
bad
it
all weekend. You just couldn't come up with a game.
Dude, you were nailing this. This is just it's good banter.
Okay,
I'm really vibing with it.
So today, we are gonna review Constantine, that old Keanu Reeves movie from 2005.
It's taken like a month for this to be happening too. I can't believe how far
I saw this a long time ago. I texted myself the notes that I had on the film back in May of 24, not the year 24, the date 24. So yeah, this has actually been like a month and a half trying to get this shit going. Hopefully I still remember the movie at all. Let's just go with it. I got the wiki open just in case.
Okay, well at the top, what did you think of it?
7 out of 10.
What? Really?
Yes.
Okay.
What did you think?
I gave it a generous 5. I would wanted to give it lower, but like I have my reasons where I'm like it can't be lower than average, but like I was not really. It was fine.
Wow. Taylor with the fucking fail take. Tune into this episode for the epic fail take.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, that's crazy. Okay, so I had a feeling you might not like this because I think, as I'm the advanced and elevated movie observer compared to you, there's a lot to appreciate in this movie technically that maybe you just like didn't care for or notice.
That's probably what's going to be the reality of this. Yes.
Okay, so I gave it a 7 out of 10. What did you give it?
I think I gave it a 5 is what I ended up like logging it as.
So here's the thing, like normally our opinions can be swayed a little bit forward or backward based on just the discussions we have. In this case, I don't think yours is going to change because you'd have to like probably rewatch it to see the things I'm going to talk about. And even then, I don't know that you would appreciate it anymore and you'd probably be like, oh, I do see how that's cooler now, but it's still a 5 out of 10. You know what I mean? Like there's not a ton of substance in this movie per se. So I think it's just preference. I don't know. Lauren and I have been on this kick of trying to watch like old cult movies that like have a better reputation now than they did previously. Yeah. And this is one where Lauren and I were both just kind of like really enthralled by it. I loved the universe. I loved the aesthetic and the atmosphere.
I will say the stuff that's why when I said I couldn't give it lower than a 5 is the things you're describing right now is because like, so I just want to back you up on it because like when I watched it, this is much better than I was under the impression it was going to be. I thought it was going to be way worse in a lot of different ways. But
nice.
That's why it's hard to put my like feelings into thoughts because like, I think you will hear what I have to say about it and be like, why is it only a 5? And it's just because like there's something about it that like it just I didn't resonate with almost any of the material and like what was being said by the characters or their motivations. But I was so moved by the world, like the world seemed so cool and it looked so awesome and their versions of like this random city and hell and stuff are just really cool, and I loved like the everything about the design of all the creatures, like everything about it was cool except the movie part, which is why it's like it's hard to they're on sale. That's kind of that's why I had a hard time really like making my thoughts make sense on a scale. It would be kind of hard to place it somewhere.
Okay, yeah. Movies tend to resonate better with you if they have more things to say or there's more layers to peel back. And this one is pretty surface level and kind of goofy. It's based on the superhero character. He's a DC character, right?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
So he hangs out with Swamp Thing, if I'm not mistaken, is kind of like the edgy, like,
cool.
Oh, the Justice League won't take this case, but us like weirdos will.
Constantine and Swamp Thing will. Yeah, okay, so I think this movie was beautifully filmed. The production on this movie was so fucking good. Just the opening shot of like the shots, I should say, or the opening sequences of there's just so much style. This director, Francis Lawrence, he did, I'm looking at his wiki page now. He did I Am Legend, which was another movie that's like it holds up pretty well. It's not super great, but it's pretty good. Oh, he did all the Hunger Games. Okay, he hasn't actually done anything that good. He's just done a lot of movies, so he has experience. But in this particular one, Constantine,
I would challenge you to say that the Mockingbirds, at least again from a technical perspective, have always caught my eye. They looked interesting, so I do think he seems to have a good visual. Because like I Am Legend, I remember being visually striking. Like I don't know, that seems to be consistent through a lot of his.
Yeah.
Oh, and he's doing The Long Walk. Oh shit, that looks interesting. That's a horror movie coming up. That's a Stephen King short that I saw a trailer for before 28 Years Later.
Yes.
Sorry.
I saw that too.
I just learned that right now.
I thought that one looked really fucking stupid. But
I just like see if like I'm much more interested even in stuff that sounds dumb of being like, look, I don't know, it could be cool.
Right. Well, yeah, back to Constantine here. It just was very beautifully filmed. It was a really cool universe. The shot specifically that kind of incited the whole movie where the main character, what looks like the main character, Rachel Weisz, like swan dives off of the building, and the shot is from inside underneath through this tiny little window, and you see her die, like free falling through, and it breaks through the window, and then she falls into a pool, and you realize the whole shot was from under the water through the. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's hard to describe.
Yeah, that opening was pretty. Dude, that was incredible.
So
I do remember
cool.
being like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
That was incredible.
It was a really incredible shot. And then the whole exorcism sequence was amazing, where, like, to show us who Constantine is, what his abilities are, basically, like, what he does as a detective is he does these he's a supernatural paranormal detective guy. And yeah, he's trying to exorcise this demon out of this little girl, and just the sequence in that room was really compelling to me. The way they had to, like, hook up the mirror with the ropes and pull it tight so that it was parallel to the girl on the bed, but the way it was shot was really cool. You could see the demon in the mirror, but in real life it was just like a creepy looking girl that's possessed, and they had to then fling the mirror and make it shatter out the window, and he had to capture the demon in the mirror, and then you have to shatter the mirror to kill the demon. Like, just a really cool concept, and the way it was filmed was really cool. I just can't describe this movie other than just cool. It looks so cool.
And you forgot to mention how cool the demon looked too. Like these weird, like caved in faceless things. I don't know.
The sort of the foot soldiers of hell with the missing like half of their head. They look creepy.
They kind of look like the Last of Us, like infected a little bit.
Yeah, they look like clickers. Kind of like half of their head is sort of gone, but in a stylistic way. Yeah, man. I don't know. I really love the way this movie
opening is
looked.
Very cool. I will say it's so crazy to me how much of this feels like a John Wick prototype. It feels like the fact that his character is named John, which is just like a nice coincidence, but like it just reminded me a lot of just like the way Keanu Reeves like performed the character. I don't know. I guess it just gave me those vibes. I'm not sure if you got any of that. from this.
Well, if John Wick prototype, you mean just like Keanu Reeves acting limits, then yes, he plays the same
maybe
character.
that's more of
it's
a...
just Keanu. He can't really do. He doesn't have range really. This is where he's at his best, where he's kind of lovable but hateable. He's got charisma, but he's kind of cold.
Okay.
Like
All right,
this is
so
just
here, let me...
Yeah,
That you bring up this is one of my biggest beefs with this movie is I can't stand anybody in this movie. Their writing is all dog doo-doo, poo, dog do, shit, fart, ass, blast.
Yes.
I don't ever complain about this stuff, but Shia LaBeouf's character is the most insufferable loser. He says the name John, I think, 49 times in his 50 speaking lines. Jesus Christ. I don't know if he just needs to say his name, but everyone is constantly saying his name, and it was just driving me nuts because it doesn't make sense. What if every sentence I just start the sentence by saying your name, comma, then the sentence? Why am I doing that other than to annoying me, Taylor Opalk, in the year 2025? That was the goal of this movie. It was like just nails on a chalkboard. I just could not pull myself out of it. I just kept hearing it over and over.
Dude, okay.
And over.
There are little things like that definitely trigger me. I know exactly what you're talking about. I didn't pick up on this, in this movie, that they would say his John, comma, and then the sentence. But there is a similar sort of sentencing framework that happens a lot in movies that piss me the fuck off. It is the phrase, listen to me. So many times in movies, characters will be literally looking at each other, and because it's a serious moment, and I don't know why writers or directors...
Please take what I'm about to say very seriously.
Yeah,
this is the most important.
Yes, exactly. Listen to me. You need to do this. It's like, I am listening to you. I'm literally looking at you. What the fuck else am I going to be doing? Yeah, the phrase, listen to me, it is perforated all throughout fucking movie. Even really good movies will have little listen to me fucking slip-ups, I'll call them, because I hate them, and I think it's stupid as fuck to say something like that. It's like when somebody is talking and then they also say, in my opinion. It's like, whose other opinion could it be? You are the one speaking about how you feel. It's like, this movie sucked. Not my opinion, someone else's opinion. It's like, of course that's your opinion. You know? I don't know.
Right.
So the phrase listen to me is like the same way to me. It instantly breaks me out of it and it pisses me the fuck off. So like, I'll be watching something that's really good and a character will say that and I'm like, oh my god, -0.5 star. I hate it.
Yeah, I don't know why. I'm normally on the other end of it, of like kind of keeping me locked in and just being like, oh, maybe it's not that bad. For some reason, this movie felt like, the movie wanted me to think he was cooler than he was. Like the way Angela talks to John in this movie, and she's just like, he's a complete fucking asshole.
Oh, yeah,
like
total
in a way
dickhead.
that's almost comical in the beginning of like I get it, he's edgy, but like it feels like this guy's an asshole, okay?
Of course,
and
yes,
then
he's a complete dickhead. That is for sure his like the thing.
And then the second she needs help from him and like he decides like, oh, this is going to benefit me, so I should follow up with it. She's like a little fawn following around and like constantly wanting to kiss him and like breathlessly on, like I don't know what happened. She's just like and they have no chemistry, like
not
their
at all.
entire. So, like, I just got so annoyed because why was she like this? I don't know. I did not like her character, and it bummed me out because I love Rachel Weisz so
she's
much.
Great. So, okay, everything you're saying is extremely valid. I agree with all of it. It's funny because it's very true. I had so much fun watching it that I didn't really care about this stuff, and that's how Lauren felt too. And she pointed out some of this where it's the one scene that's supposed to be really intense, and it's John Constantine, and so it's Keanu Reeves as John Constantine, Rachel Weisz as Angela. John and Angela are in the room because we have no structure to this, of course. What's happening in this movie is Angela has a twin sister, Isabel, who's in a mental institution, and she commits suicide. And that is the whole inciting incident to this movie, is Angela is a LAPD detective, She's trying to figure out why her sister killed herself because, of course, my sister would never kill herself. She didn't do this. It cannot be this way. And John, being the supernatural kind of detective, they end up being, I can't even remember, why are these cases linked together? Why is he even helping
because he ends up talking to Gabriel when she's talking to her father, who is like a priest of some kind. So she sees him, and then like, because her sister is so insistent that there's something going on, someone implies that John Constantine might be like...
Oh, because he deals with the weird cases. Yeah, the ones that other people...
And that is how... but then she realizes that John Constantine is the asshole she's been running into, and that's how it overlaps.
That's right. I kind of like that, actually, that they set it up where these two are... Their Venn diagrams are touching a little bit, so they actually encounter each other just
naturally
by happenstance, somewhat naturally in the story, yes. And they're both like going to the same church, whereas, you know, John is going there to repent, or is that what it's called? What the fuck am I saying? What the Catholics do, where they admit their sins?
Confession. They go to confession.
Confession. Yeah, he's like going to confession because he's actually having to deal with this. Because he actually is trying to repent for some terrible shit he's done in the past, and he's trying to get into heaven.
To be clear, do you know what he did specifically to, like, because he just commits suicide. He tries to kill himself, and that's why he's doing all this, is so he can get back into heaven. Because the idea is, once you've killed yourself, that's it. You can never go to heaven. And the idea is like, well, he doesn't die. The implication is that he was brought back from hell. I don't quite know. They don't say, but that's what it is. And so he's now exorcising demons as kind of like a cop, I guess, in the middle between heaven and hell to do enough good deeds that then God would let him into heaven as kind of like well, I guess we'll call it even.
Okay, yes, right. So that's why he keeps ending up in this church to go to his priest or whatever. And so she's there for kind of the same reason, but almost more looking for the typical religious support of like, I'm feeling lost, I need help. And John is there like, oh fuck, I gotta confess my sins.
Because what it is she is going and is in confessing her sins because she kills people and she feels very remorseful about it. And then she's talking to her dad, where Gabriel's at the church because Gabriel's an angel from heaven, just hanging out because she's the literal, or he's a literal religious figure. What I thought was so weird about this Gabriel character is it's androgynous. It's played by a woman, but is a boy. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, Tilda Swinton,
the angel wings,
who's just amazing.
Yeah, and the idea is that like the heaven and hell shit is stuff that you have to be able to perceive it. Like it's there. Like the idea is they make it clear that Constantine sees Gabriel's wings, but nobody else really sees them. But you find out is not technically true. One other character does have the vision. But I think the opening incident.
Yes. Opening incident is Angela's sister commits suicide, and they're trying to figure out what's going on. So that leads me back to what I was originally saying was the scene where John and Angela are in Angela's sister's room trying to look for clues because Angela's like, my sister, if she did this, she would have left a clue. I know her. She had to have. And John is like... It's one of those scenes where it's a character repeatedly kind of badgering in increasing intensity the other character to like break them and get them to have an epiphany, you know, like, what do you think? What are you thinking? What do you think? You know, like that. It escalates like that. That
I forgot about that.
Was ludicrous because Keanu just can't act. I'm sorry. He's just like not good enough to do something like that. Or maybe he is, but these characters and these actors just didn't have enough chemistry, or the director didn't know how to direct them. Yeah. It just was so, like, come on. Ugh. It was a really bad scene. So yeah, that's what this is my follow-up to us talking about Keanu's limited range as an actor, was that scene trying to be this intense thing, and it was just kind of laughable and not great. And it does lead, of course, to Angela finding out the clue. Oh yeah, we used to breathe on windows and leave little messages in the moisture on the window, and so she like breathes on the window and sees the secret message that her sister left.
It was a little like, yeah, that's how fog breath works, and I'm sure that was, I don't know, that it's fine. I
Yes,
found
that's
it,
fine.
it's kind of like, I don't know what the word is in the English language, but like the reason that like the thing that moves the plot forward here is just a little like, oh, I can't think of a better reason. I guess we'll go with this. This seems good enough. That it just feels like kind of half-assed, a lot of the like plot beats to move us to the next scene. They just couldn't think of a good way to end them. That was something I found also very jarring in this movie. So many scenes are just like a cut to someone walking for 5 seconds, cut to another character for about 5 seconds, and cut to another character for about 8 seconds. And it just jumped really aggressively between like the 3 or 4 characters you were kind of following at the same time. But sometimes you cut to them and they don't achieve their goal yet. They're just walking further down the road. I don't know. There's some weird shit. And I bring these up because I don't notice any of this. So if I notice it, it's got to be kind of weird.
Huh. Interesting.
And the fact that you have it makes me very confused. Like, what the hell? How am I picking this stuff up?
Maybe
You know what?
I didn't.
It's the suspension of disbelief was stronger for you than it was for me for whatever reason.
Yeah, and I don't know. Maybe it just didn't raise any flags for me that it was cutting to people doing stuff, because maybe it felt normal to me. You know, like that's just what movies do. But
yeah, you're right. No, just the sentence was like, I don't know, sometimes movies cut to people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
That was my criticism, was they cut to characters.
Yeah. I hate that this movie cuts the scene. It's like, all right.
I only watch one-take movies, actually. Okay. But no, it was just there are just a lot of things that I also thought the plot with the Spear of Longinus, no, that's not what it was called, the Spear of Destiny.
That's it.
Like they kind of open with that, like the spear incident, like kind of early on in the movie, and it ends up just like being kind of like a MacGuffin that doesn't matter that much, except that it lets you know that it's important. You know, you don't see it do anything important like directly, and the character who gets it kind of gets it in a location we never go to with the main characters, and then he brings it to the climax of the film. And then a different character kind of disregards like that. The only reason it matters, I don't know if that makes sense. What I'm getting at.
Yes. I forgot that the spear was even in the movie. Like
if you cut out all the spear
it didn't
references, the only reason it was brought up was at the very end as John's like last ditch effort to like save to like get everyone else is like, oh, but the spear's in the next room too. Like that's the reason it's in the movie, is just to save his life at the very last moment. That's the kind of things that, like, I don't know, like they're bringing these objects along to justify why a character can be saved rather than it feel like an earned moment.
So I think when I watched this movie, I instantly knew it was not going to be well written. It was going to have gimmicky bullshit, a cop-out stuff like this with the MacGuffin spear and really weak writing of, you know, Angela and Isabel characters. Okay. And like, I knew it was gonna be goofy and silly and lame, because that's like it's a superhero movie about heaven and hell. Like it's not gonna try to be something that it isn't and be like very grounded and well written. Like everything is very unambiguous. And that's actually why I like this movie a lot. And that's part of even the struggle between John and Angela, is he's like, yo, heaven and hell are real, demons are real, and I physically fight them. Like, you're gonna see this. You're gonna have to like get pulled into this world to understand. I liked that. So I knew the movie was gonna be just very face up in everything it was doing. And
you know what? That's an interesting point when you put it that way. That makes a lot of sense, and it's almost how good the opening sequences were kind of betrays the like what the movie's writing, because like the writing doesn't really start until after the first 2 sequences, because like an action scene's writing is kind of just like functional, right? Like it's just to get the characters like, no, go more right now, I need this second, go, like that's what the first chunk of writing is. So like maybe it's an expectation. Is ironically my expectations were too high based on the technical parts of the movie too early, and that's where I messed up. Never thought about it. I was like, if this was just like another MCU movie with that kind of stuff, then it's like, oh, it's really good and it's an okay Marvel movie plus a really high technical film, I would probably like it a lot more. So
Yeah,
okay.
I think it required a different mental framework that maybe you didn't have while watching it, but that is exactly how I would describe this. This is a Marvel movie that they let like somebody actually have flair and panache kind of direct. It's back when kind of like James Gunn Suicide Squad, right? Like that movie, I loved that movie. And it was so much fun.
I didn't know I haven't seen it. I never would have guessed that.
Dude,
wow.
yeah, because of course the what the fuck is that guy's name? The Suicide Squad with Jared Leto.
Oh, David Ayer.
David Ayer, yes. David Ayer's Suicide Squad is hysterically bad in every single way, and it's one of the worst movies ever created. So, James Gunn's Suicide Squad coming out afterwards, I think a lot of people soured on it. They're like, okay, this is getting rebooted again, and like it's coming out somewhat soon compared to this one, but it's actually great. It's really fun and entertaining, and it's the same as this. Yeah, James Gunn is good. It's the same as this, where there's like a lot of conceits you have to make with the writing because it's a super, at the end of the day, it's a superhero bullshit. Yeah, there's MacGuffin devices, there's super spears, there's heaven, there's hell. So I would describe this movie as just an extremely technically well-made Marvel movie.
Okay, that makes me appreciate some of this shit a lot more now. I kind of get it. Because let's start going through some like scenes so we can talk about some characters. So like I'm trying to think, what did you think of the like bug fight sequence in the street? Because that kind of happens after they leave the church. We meet Gabriel, which once again we said this is like cool to have Tilda Swinton like playing this guy who's kind of like this androgynous being, but
yes.
Then he fights what is kind of like the first demon that's on land rather than possessing somebody. Like they take physical form as a swarm of disgusting bugs.
Yes.
I thought let's see, and that's the other problem I have is like I found the action sequence where there weren't guns not as like I don't know. Maybe it's because I like the CGI just feels like of its time that it felt like he was not fighting something that
substantial,
particular.
Yeah.
It was fine. I don't know. I didn't feel anything in particular about it, and that's when I started to be like, "Am I gonna like this movie?" Because if this is like the energy it's gonna give, like I don't know, man.
Yeah, no, I liked that scene. I thought it was cool. That's something else I wanted to mention was the CGI in this movie. Yes, it looks like it's from 2005, but again, it was done in a style that makes it look good for this movie, and it still looks good today. So even though the CGI is 20 years old, I think it holds up in its own way. I really liked it.
I will say, like, it did not feel like I was watching a movie from the year I was, other than those actors should not look that young. That's the only reason I knew. It was weird seeing Keanu and Rachel and Tilda Swinton all look just like
so young.
They're my age now, it was just so strange.
But yeah, the bug fight was also fine. I liked that.
I was more confused because it seems like more people should have seen what was happening. Yeah. Like there seemed to be almost no cars for a bit.
There were some cars, was this one of those things where other people would have seen it, or it would have looked like him just swinging at the air and other people wouldn't have been able to see the demon? What's the deal with that?
Yeah, that was I feel like that's a little nitpicky for me, but like I did have those questions because it feels like it's trying to establish how much does a regular person see those? Like, it seems like it was just not very clear to me, and I thought there would have been more. It seemed like there's nobody in Los Angeles right now walking around. Nobody, no cars, nothing. And then a car shows up eventually, but they don't seem to like when someone hits a bunch of bugs. Like it seems very real, but no, I don't know. No cars seem to like. I don't remember them stopping, and
because
there's no accidents.
I'm trying to remember. Like you said, only some people can see Gabriel's wings, for instance. Is that bug being a straight up demon? Is that part of the same thing where only certain people can see it? Because there's also one of the bigger villains of the movie, Balthazar. He's like a CEO of a company or something, but is this like a weird hell company that operates
Okay, so I have
can't
my
remember.
understanding of this is that Gabriel and Balthazar are the same tier of soldier where they're allowed to be physically present, but they can't interact with humans to kill or push, like
Right, that's
physically
right.
cause any. And so their way they do that is by, it makes sense that Balthazar would run a shitty company, right? Like influence behind the scenes to
So
get people to be
okay,
shitty.
so that what does that mean about there's that scene where they're in the street and the lights go out and a swarm of demons attack John and
Oh
Angela.
yeah,
That was a really cool scene as well. Because again, all the action in this movie is very cool. For the 90th time, cool. It's also concise, which I really like. This movie,
yeah, that's
maybe they
so
didn't want to
true.
stretch the CGI budget and have John fight CGI bug monster for 10 minutes. So they're like, we can only do a little bit of this, but it definitely works in this movie's favor. It's great. There's a scene later where John is shooting a bunch of people, and it's not some big shootout. He's literally just like blasting one dude, moves over here, blasts another dude. This guy tries to attack, blast that dude. It's very to the point. Also, when he fights Balthazar later, which we'll get to, it was a very simple fight. It was like Balthazar got the better of him for a second, and then John got the better of him, and the fight was over. I really appreciated that, actually. It makes it much more compelling and realistic, like the John Wick fights where just there's a million people and they're all shooting a million bullets. It's like, I'm so bored. Like, how you're not all shooting each other like this. Get out of here.
Yeah, I agree that it did feel punchy. The movie did not feel, I would say it's paced really well. I did not think that was a 2-hour movie. That flew by for me. I was really shocked how long this movie was.
Yeah, it's just when there wasn't compelling action or movement on screen. Because I wrote the note to myself, pacing issues, but again, it's been a month now and I can't fucking remember because I'm watching so many movies. But I think it's basically just any scene where something compelling isn't happening. It's really slow and boring because, it's all boring. It's like, it's Marvel shit.
What I thought was a very interesting but kind of weird thing is they kept setting up as the next sequel, the next person they're going to is the final guy, but they did it like 3 or 4 times. Like Balthazar, they set up as like the big kind of like shitty dude, gets knocked out in like the first 30 minutes, and then I paused. I was like, "Whoa, there's the whole fucking movie left."
Yeah,
I don't know where they're going. And when I thought like they were gonna cap it off, I was like, "There's 30 minutes left, okay." But it's more of the story made me think they were wrapping it up, but they weren't. But I wasn't necessarily like bored by the time they got there. In some ways, I'm like, you guys could probably slow down on your like getting the guy here, but they keep pushing the goalpost further along the track.
Well, yes, that's true. But what I want to circle back to again, because I was, of course, us getting on tangents. Who would have thought? My point was the demons attacking them in the street. Would a bystander have seen that if somebody was standing there? The demons that attack John in his apartment. Remember, he's often like plagued by these demons coming to kill him because demons hate him. Obviously, because he's killing, other demons. So John was at his apartment with Angela, and you saw just swarms of demon shadows like around his windows a lot, which was very cool. His apartment was awesome, by the way. The green windows and shit, and great set pieces, dude. Again, like great set pieces. Production on this movie was top notch, and that's really what carried it. So, is it? Am I overthinking it? I think it's one of those things where once you become aware of it, then you can see it. But most people live in bliss or live in ignorance.
That is the way. I think that is when you consider this is a Marvel movie. That is, I think if you think of that level of like how tight the script is, I think that is the message they're trying to say with this stuff. So because they imply like Angela and Isabel are psychics, but like the idea is like once you John Wick, I almost said that. Once you have like crossed over, like you can't unsee this stuff anymore. You can never turn this back off.
Okay. I'm just trying to get, I guess, a concrete answer because I don't remember, but I think it is just one of those things like you got to open your third eye, and once you do, then you can't close it. And I think,
yeah. Because, like, I'm thinking about when he's, like, basically officially goes and sends her to hell in the bathtub. Do you remember that?
Yes.
I was like, I hope you do, because that's like my favorite part of the whole movie.
Yeah, it was very
actually
cool.
that. But
wait, I said cool again. Damn it!
you are fucking.
Let's
cool,
try to
dude.
stop saying that word. Let's see if I can do it.
But that sequence is the one where he is sharing this like, hey, this is your last chance to, go back to your normal life, because once you've got crossed over, you can't come back. Like, you bring it back with you. Like,
that's what it is.
That's the phrase. Yes, he says once you see the demons can see you. That's the idea.
Okay,
so like once you.
But
go ahead.
Does that happen? This happens after they get attacked in the streets by the demons, right?
Yeah, that's what's kind of
weird. But she sees
weird.
those
like,
demons.
Right, but like the implication is it's different for her because the demons are already like kind of aware of her and chasing her because she's a psychic and already has a connection to that area, which is why they can't see her all the time. Like, that's how you could justify like why a random attack party would happen and not constant, is like they knew where Isabel was, and John confirmed where Isabel is, and now he's where Angela is. So like there's that kind of like vague connection, but they don't know where she is. Like, I don't know. That's how I'm trying to justify it. But
okay, yeah, because see, this is why I guess I'm confused, because I don't know what the rules are. That's what I'm trying to say. I don't know what the rules are.
And I think that's part of the problem is they do dance. They do the like, when the plot needs it to be this, these are the rules, and we'll bend them a little bit here, but go back to what they were before. Her being hunted should imply that she doesn't need to go to hell to be seen. Like, they should already know where she is.
I think maybe, hold on, maybe is this it where, a direct confrontation, because she's literally with John and the demons decide to attack John, she can see the demons, but because she hasn't been killed and sent to hell, she isn't their target, she can't see all of them all the time, but when there's a direct confrontation, she becomes aware of them, of course. And like when she's in the apartment and John can see the demons all around the windows, she can't, because they're hunting him. But then when he sends her to hell, then it's like the demons go, oh, okay, now you're part of this, you're on our list. And then she becomes...
Yes, that is exactly what I was trying to articulate, but failed to. You made it much more clear and concise.
Okay, now I see. So, that also confused me a little bit, too, about the hell scene, because there's the whole thing where if you commit suicide, you go to hell. You don't go to heaven. She didn't commit suicide. She agreed to this process that John was intentionally vague about. And the scene is they're in a bathtub because for some reason you have to be connected to water. So John goes to hell 2 or 3 times in this movie. And one time he puts his feet in like a little bowl of water. He sits on this chair and he's holding a cat because demons don't like cats. So I think this is like a way for him to have... Maybe this is a way for him to go to hell but still be grounded and protected in real life, holding on to this cat while his soul gets pulled to hell, which even that kind of stuff, like, I just found that to be fun. I like that there's they just write like, yep, these are the rules and this is how it works and you just gotta go with it. I like those. I like suspending my disbelief for those kind of conceits. You know what I mean? Like, hell isn't real, so of course, like, how are you going to write rules about going to hell? You have to just make shit up, and if it serves for the movie, like, so be it. I'm totally willing to just go, oh, that's how it works? All right, then, that's fine.
Yeah, because, like, the more or less the vague definition is the cat is used as a ritual to help him, like, access the area. So when you talk about what happens with Angela, is that John Constantine is the one who, because he's staying behind, is the one that is channeling the, like, ability to go. That, like, that's kind of how I guess you could, like, make it make sense.
All right. Okay, so he just did the same... I thought, in my head, I was thinking that this was her... No, she dies. This isn't the same ritual as John sitting on the chair with the water and the cat. That is a specific... like, ritual that he uses to go to hell. Her going to hell in this instance is him literally killing her. He drowns her in a tub, if we haven't said that or made that clear. She agrees to this ritual, and he's like, okay, you need to get in this tub full of water, and you're going to have to go under the water, kind of like a baptism. And she's like, okay. And she goes under the water, and then John is kind of holding her there, and as she starts to, like, run out of breath, she tries to come up, and John holds her under, and she realizes, like, oh, fuck, John's killing me right now. What the fuck? And she starts fighting and thrashing, and John just holds her underwater until she dies. Then she dies and goes to hell. That's how she first goes
that's
there.
interesting. Is like I did
That's
not
not a
think of
suicide.
it that way. Because I was under the impression it was you will just basically go to hell, like the way that like it just kind of when you transport to hell, you as an individual, time stops for you. Like time does not move.
They mentioned that when you go to hell.
So the
time
idea
stops.
is that like holding her down, he's doing something to like get her to that place, and then when she like, and you need to be in danger, almost dying, like life flash before your eyes era. Like I didn't think that she literally died. That's why she was able to come back, was because she wasn't dead all the way.
Maybe, and maybe
that's
she goes
why
to
he says.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
And that's why he's kind of like the vague, like, as long as it takes, because it varies from person to person. I know that you can imply that to mean she dies, but like that makes it make sense to me as to like why it would be similar to the other one.
You're right. And now I'm realizing too that in the beginning, because she's at the church and you said she's confessing about how she's killed people, that's why she goes to hell from him killing her, because she is technically like probably being judged as a bad person for murdering people, even though she's with the LAPD. But I guess that doesn't give you any kind of sway to go to heaven. You're not like, I guess she's not killing for good enough. I'm not sure.
So I would say,
why did she go to hell? Is
and
basically what I'm asking. Why did she go to hell?
Well, okay, there's two interpretations. I have one that it's because they were doing a ritual to go to hell. That is why. And that's why it's not about her dying, because it's a ritual. It is not like, I'm going to send you to hell just so you can feel it. It was like, no, I am doing something with my magic abilities, my touch there. I'm going to get you to feel and go there so that you can, like, now you've been baptized. This is a baptism.
Yeah, this is a baptism for hell, yes.
And the baptism to hell is you almost have to die for it, instead of being like, like, oh, I got the breath of life. It's like you get to feel death for just a second and you get pulled back.
That's a great way to put it. Instead of the breath of life, it's like the breath of death.
Yes. Like you touch death for just a second and you get pulled back instead of...
I really like that.
Okay, cool. And the other one is that I think that God in this universe and the devil are just like two amoral beings that are like so beyond, like, what is humanity isn't a, like... I think that God is as precious about. He's more like a deity beyond. It doesn't. It's just like the way we look at, like, I don't know, deer. It's just another being, and that they're playing with this, and it's just like not that important to them.
Okay, I was too hung up on thinking she had to commit suicide to go to hell, and not thinking about the fact that, like, John already did this ritual to go to hell before this scene. So they established there's a ritual to do this to go to hell. And for some reason, I didn't put that together of like, oh, he's just doing this ritual with her. I don't know.
Because like he even mentions to Angela the reason they use water is to protect you in hell. So like that's why she'd have to be completely submerged for her first time, because she needs a lot more protection than that lubricant.
I just missed all this.
Look, as the person who cares about details, it makes sense that I would have picked up on this.
Correct.
Okay, and I'm smarter than you and have a smaller brain and wait.
Yeah. What?
But to wrap up that scene, now that Kyle's dumb baby brain figured it out, how long they sit before she starts to panic. Like, I know they are constantly cutting, so it's not one long shot, but it's done in a way that like I was like losing my breath a little bit. Like, this is real. I knew it was gonna happen.
Same.
But like it still was very good tension there. I thought that was really well acted, really well shot. See, like,
okay,
gave
so
me chills.
Let's clarify this as well, because we haven't yet. Isabel commits suicide, which means she's in hell. Angela does not believe that her sister committed suicide, therefore she should be in heaven. So what this prompts John to do is go to hell separately. And he
just
basically,
to
go find her to confirm. And he does find her, and he does confirm that she's in hell. She basically, it looks like in hell, she's eternally damned to just be jumping off the building over and over and like committing suicide repeatedly. And as she jumps, he like grabs her arm and pulls her insane asylum wristband off of her wrist. So he goes to hell to find her. He finds her, grabs kind of proof that she is there, and in the waking world, he has this bracelet and he gives it to Rachel Weisz, gives it to Angela and is like, yeah, she was there. Look, this is her wristband thing. And she, Angela goes like, oh my God. And that is what gets something to happen. I don't even remember why that. What comes
first,
of that?
that what ends up happening is this confirms to John that he's like, no, look, she killed herself. Sorry, see,
Yes,
I found this. I
she's
saw
in
her do
hell.
it, and this was going to be them closing the book. But then I think this is when then the demons start attacking Angel. Then he's like, this is like what, like so there might be more to this than just. And then that's when I think they start to go. Let me.
I remember.
Oh.
Isabel, her sister, as a child, she like immediately was in tune with the supernatural. She could see ghosts and demons, and
that's right.
And because they were identical twins, Angela, growing up, for some reason rejected this. She could see stuff too as a kid, but she didn't want to believe it, whereas her sister Isabel embraced it and was like, yes, I can see these things. So as Isabel and Angela grew up together, Isabel was becoming more and more plagued by her visions and what she could see. They thought she was insane, and they sent her to a mental institution. And Angela, instead of defending her sister and was like, yes, I can see them too, this is real, she went, nope, I don't see anything, you guys are right, Isabel's crazy. So that is why she's so plagued in this whole movie, basically, is because she essentially rejected her natural affinity towards the supernatural. She betrayed her sister by saying like, nope, I don't see anything, you're crazy, and just basically destroyed their relationship. So now she's feeling like crazy amounts of remorse, and she feels horrible for it, and now she feels very guilty. That is what this whole movie, like, I can't even remember what the fuck any of this was about.
So, and if I'm not mistaken, this is what happens is they recognize the brand has something to do with Balthazar, and that's what leads them to the Balthazar confrontation.
Yes, so Isabel is like scarred and branded, and it is Balthazar's branding on her. And so then this whole, as an adult now, Angela meeting John gets her to get back in tune with all this stuff that she has previously rejected, and now she has become basically Isabel, where she's seeing demons and fighting demons and dealing with all this shit, upfront interface. And okay. But that I still don't remember why then Angela has to go to hell.
She goes, so I think you bit them a little bit out of sequence.
I think I already asked why she went to hell. And I don't
Yeah, you're doing this a little bit out of sequence here. So the idea was that John recognizes the brand that when she breathes on the mirror, that brand is drawn. So that's when Angela goes with John to the like hotel business area where Balthazar is. There's a fight that breaks out, and this is where John learns about like kind of the larger plan, and that he basically tells Angela this information. Is like, hey, there's a bigger plot happening here. You can come with, or you can get out now. Here's your opportunity. But I need you like he's trying to get out, and she's like, no, I need to go all in. And she's like, okay, here's how we do it. Baptized by going to hell.
Yes.
That's how it happens. And that's what kicks off like basically the climax is now that she's all in on it, they are trying to basically get the blood off. That's the spear has the blood of Christ on it, and they're chasing MacGuffins around now that she's like seeing the same shit that she's used to be able to.
Okay. Now here's a question for you. What is the bigger plot that Balthazar? Why did he have to brand Isabel? Why did Isabel kill herself, etc.?
Okay, so I don't know if are you asking for content or are you asking for clarification?
Both.
Okay, so the idea is in the very opening sequence of the movie, he sees the demon trying to burst out of this woman's the demon from like the opening sequence that John was exercising with the mirror.
Okay.
I'm calling back to this. The demon tries to like get out through the woman's neck, and he like punches it down and then exercises it as normal. He recognizes that is them trying to cross over in a way that demons should not be able to. Flash forward to what the plan is with this blood of the spear of Christ. They're able to get instead of it like the inverse, instead of the blood of Jesus, they're going to use it to bring in the son of Satan, who is basically an even more, the most evil demon they could ever bring over. And once he's over, like...
That's right. All hell will break loose. That's the whole plot.
So Yeah, so the idea was Balthazar was trying to get a powerful psychic is what you need to give the ability for this demon to be able to come through. But then Isabel kills herself or something like that. She dies, so they need now Angela to complete the ritual.
Okay, so an hour into the podcast, we have just now established the plot of the movie. Got it. Okay.
It goes kind of quick because this is basically action sequence to action sequence. Angela gets like possessed, and then he kind of rescues her, but then doesn't make it back in time, and she gets ripped out of a building and is being dragged to hell. So then he has to go to hell, and there's a lot going on. I'm trying to. We have to actually reference the Wikipedia because, like, it's funny. I remember all the sequences, just not the order they play in.
I see. So yeah, here it says Isabel, a powerful psychic, sacrificed herself to thwart Mammon's plan. So she just killed herself, yeah, just to stop this thing from happening.
Yes. Okay, that's what I thought was the idea. That's why it wasn't a suicide. It was a like murder. You know what I mean? Like it was a sacrifice.
Yes,
that's kind of like
not a suicide, but it's still she still technically did it to herself, so she still has to go to hell for it. Okay.
But then, and then like there is a side character we haven't mentioned, which was the Papa Midnight, and he's just like a witch doctor that is kind of like a neutral dude that kind of is why John is able to like hop in and out. Is he seems basically using like Papa Midnight's like ritual knowledge to do that kind of stuff in addition, and he ends up basically they reference this chair that John needs kind of a couple different times, and he does eventually do this. I think is after Angela gets like taken away, as he uses the chair, the electric chair, to like kill himself to go back to hell.
Oh yeah, that's right. Okay,
that's what. Gosh.
Wow. All right. Well, we clarified that. Okay, let's start the podcast now that we actually understand the plot.
Well,
of the movie.
now we only have about 10 minutes of the movie left.
Okay,
somehow.
So. What? Where?
Oh, I remember because this is. I know this is gonna be. No one's gonna listen to this episode. I'm sorry if you are. But this is where Shia LaBeouf basically. Angela gets kidnapped or gone, and then Shia LaBeouf's like, "You gotta let me in, Coach, bro.
Yeah, that's
John,
right.
you gotta, John." And then he ends up They end up getting to the like they have a cool action cross gun scene, and Shia LaBeouf. I don't remember his character's name. That's why I genuinely am not naming him Chaz or Chet.
Yeah, his name is Chaz.
Chort.
Chas, but I think it's pronounced Chaz. But we're gonna call him Chaz.
So they eventually get to the top of the building where they're able to rescue the demonic half-possessed Angela, and John is trying to do it on his own. He can't do it, so then Shia LaBeouf, or Chas, starts to chant with him, and he's like, "Oh my gosh, I should have a friend with me. That's really helpful." And Angela's brought back to her own thinking again. She's her own self. And then a demon just a force grabs Chas and just slams him up and down, and kills him.
Yeah, that's right.
It's pretty like brutal. Shocking out of nowhere, but it also is one of those
things.
Fuck!
I said like, cool again. Can't do it. I couldn't do it.
I was really like shocked, and I thought it was really cool. I thought it was a really like powerful moment. But my problem was then it's like this feels like what. Why don't they do that to anybody else ever? If it's that easy.
Just because Chas is he's vulnerable. He's not prepared for it. He couldn't fight it. Maybe if they tried to grab John, he would have had the
that's fair.
Wherewithal or just the reflexes to fight him off or the strength. Yeah, I mean the kid. He's just a kid. He doesn't really know what's going on. He doesn't know that he could be taken advantage of like that. And the demon took advantage. So. What we haven't talked about yet,
personal.
Yes, is Satan. Love the character, love the actor who plays Satan. It's
because the reason we haven't mentioned Satan is because he hasn't shown up in the plot yet.
Yeah, at this point he has. I think he's already dealt with Lucifer.
No, Lucifer's the last scene of the movie. That whole sequence is when after Chas dies, him and Angela go to like. Thwart the final this blood sacrifice thing, Because let's bring this up.
Yeah. Get us up to speed here.
So, let's see. And with the help of the witch doctor, Constantine induces visions to locate Angela at the hospital. Oh, you're right. This is like this is in the same area. Okay.
Yeah, this is all in the hospital, which is another great set piece. We get cool stuff happening with Gabriel. Okay. We get cool stuff happening. Satan looks awesome. I love his look.
Peter Stormare.
Yeah, Peter Stormare is so classic. He's so good. So this is something I wanted to bring up too. This movie is very funny. There's a lot of jokes and smarminess and sarcasm. I was chuckling a lot in this movie, and there were parts that actually made me just like laugh out loud. There's I'll mention the parts specifically in a bit because we're going to get there. Peter Stormare plays Satan, and his look is really cool and clean. He's got a white suit on, of course, as Satan, but he has ink on his feet, so everywhere he steps leaves black footsteps, which is a really cool effect. And it's not like it's an intentional look that he's literally dripping with black ink or goo or something, but it's cool. It's deep and black. Yeah, sulfur. Tar maybe.
They reference sulfur a lot, so it's whatever. I do want to say, Kyle, there is something that happens before he shows up, and this is where John summons Gabriel basically as like, okay, help us, and then that's where you find out that Gabriel's the one who incited everybody to try to summon this because he thinks that humanity should not be God's favorite creation, and that like they need to be worthy of his love by like fighting through hell. And John then realizes that like the only way to, as a throwback, Gabriel said that you basically need to make a sacrifice, and that's when he kills himself to help Angela, not himself, or even it was Angela and Isabel to save their lives. And then because he knows that he needs Satan here, and they've made a couple references that Satan himself would come up to Earth to collect John's soul if he dies.
Right.
So that's the deal. So he kills himself then, and that's when Satan shows up. Just as to remind you, that's the sequences. Now we know Gabriel was the true antagonist. He's the one who's pulling all the strings the whole time.
Which you kind of knew because he really doesn't like humans. He's just as much of an asshole as John pretty much the whole movie. He plays the same card that everyone else does, is like, I can't interfere directly, but like I really don't like helping anybody anyway. So yeah, he's just a total dickhead. And this is another part that I thought was really funny. I guess we can skip to the so Lucifer shows up, Satan shows up, and it's Peter Stormare. He looks great. There's a part where John at this point has cut his wrists in order to get Lucifer to come get him because he knows Lucifer is going to come. Why does he do this?
He kills because, like I said, he knows what is happening would be bad for Lucifer. Him and his son they don't want each other around. So how can he get him to interfere? Well, Lucifer would come up to Earth to collect John's soul if he were to die. So he kills himself by cutting his wrists. But the camera, like, to make this movie visible, like for PG-13, rated R, they just didn't show him going down. So it's artfully done. But the idea is that he is dead here, and he's talking to Satan. Time stop. They show that I think time stops as soon as he does it because he's dead because Lucifer's here to get his soul. So that's why him dragging his body I was going to mention eventually. That.
So there's a part Lucifer is going to take John to hell, and as he grabs John's body physically, and he's it's just a more cinematic this way. He's gonna drag John's body through the portal to hell or whatever. I don't know what it is, but he's dragging John all right, here we go, buddy. We're getting out of here. And as he's dragging John is getting heavier and heavier, and he's breaking through the earth, and it's it's like two tectonic plates mashing together. As he's pulling John, he's just digging deeper into the earth, and the tiles in the hospital are breaking and shattering and caving up, creating a mountain, and he can't pull him, and he's like, what the fuck's going on? He can't pull John anymore. He's getting so heavy physically and of course metaphorically that he can't move him. And turns out God is like, actually, no, fuck you, Lucifer. John has now done enough to redeem himself, and I'm bringing him to heaven. And so God starts to pull John's soul to heaven, and this was a part I thought was really funny. You know,
That's
John,
so awesome.
John is like, his body or his soul, whatever, is kind of like starting to float up. You see his body, his arms are kind of hanging down, you know, the way people look when they get abducted by a UFO or something. Their torso is like getting pulled up. His arms are hanging down, and like, he kind of looks back at Satan, who's looking up like, what the fuck? He pulls up his hand and like slowly curls his fingers into a fist and flips off. So Lucifer, like as he's being pulled up to heaven, he's giving the finger down to Lucifer. It's really funny. And for some reason this gets stopped. This is where you're going to have to come in, because I don't remember why God then stops also taking John to heaven, because John has
so he's the idea here is just that Satan decides instead of he doesn't get to die yet. He cures him of his wounds and of his cancer, and this is like, God can't have you. If I can't have you, God can't have you. You're staying on Earth. So then he cures him of his
like heals him,
cancer.
Because John has lung cancer. That's something else we didn't mention. He is smoking every single scene in this movie, basically. He's just smoking
He is a chain smoker, and like, even in the opening sequence with he doesn't even put a cigarette out. He sets it down on the edge of a cabinet before he starts an exorcism.
And like, it's filmed so well, where it's a really, really tight close-up shot of him setting down his half-lit cigarette just like on the edge of a table. See, like, that kind of shot does so many things for the scene. Number one, it shows John's confidence. Without us knowing anything about him, it shows how confident he is. That he doesn't even have to put out a cigarette. He knows he's going to be able to do this in time to pick back up his lit cigarette and continue smoking. Like, I think that's such a cool touch, and it's something that a good filmmaker would do. It's instead of exposition heavy of like, John, wow, you're really confident, having some other character say something stupid. It's a pure visual. It's a classic show don't tell, and it was just really cool to see. I loved the scene. It was framed really well, and again, shows his level of confidence and his ability, that he's like, oh no, I'll just set down the cigarette and do this quick exorcism. Even though it was a struggle, but he still ends up picking up his cigarette at the end of the scene.
And there are a couple sequences in the movie in which doctors tell him that, like, yeah, you are super ultra fucked. And then supernatural characters saying, like, hey, there's literally nothing we can do for you either. You're super ultra fucked. And so John has said it's like, up to a year is what I have left. So then Satan, as kind of like the ultimate dickhead move, is just like, well, haha, you don't get to live eternally peaceful. You have to go back on Earth here. But then because of this information, this is when Gabriel loses his wings and becomes a mortal human instead of an angel.
Yeah,
and that's kind of...
So Lucifer pulls... Yeah, like you said, he basically gets John to come back to Earth by curing him and making him not dead, so can't go to hell and can't go to heaven yet either. Then Lucifer being pissed off at Gabriel for inciting this whole thing, because as you, I believe, mentioned, but for my own sake, want to clarify, Mammon is the name of Lucifer's son, and that's who they're trying to summon. Gabriel and Balthazar were working together to try to summon Mammon, who is Lucifer's...
Wait, I'm sorry, who's working together?
Isn't Gabriel and Balthazar working together?
Yeah, sorry, I thought you said Lucifer, that's why I was like, wait, no, but you were correct, it is Gabriel.
Gabriel and Balthazar, hopefully I said those two. Gabriel and Balthazar are working together to get Lucifer's son, Mammon, onto Earth, because he's the fucking crazy son of Satan who's gonna bring hell on Earth.
Yes.
And even like Lucifer is like, no, my son cannot, like, you can't do this. First of all, it's fucking with the balance of everything. Like, this is the game that we all play, and if you bring Mammon on Earth, you ruin the whole thing. So even Lucifer knows, like, you can't do this.
Yeah, so because, like, the big thing is, like, Lucifer's always been kind of like a trickster, like, you know, moving stuff behind the shadows. His son is like a warlord, like, blood and violence and chaos. So it's like that's not the hell that Lucifer wants. That's not the rules, okay? So
exactly.
Bad news.
Lucifer goes, all right then, fuck you, John, you're healed. You can't go to heaven, but you're not coming to hell yet either. All right, that's fine. Then he turns to Gabriel and is like, and you fucked up big time by doing this. And he does, I can't remember, does he scream? What is the effect that causes Lucifer or Gabriel to lose his wings? Because the visual effect for this was so awesome.
I thought it was God's light, like, seared them.
Oh, was it God?
I thought so.
Maybe.
Let me reread. Let's see.
Regardless, I'll describe it while you read. It's this huge blast of fiery whatever. It's a cool effect, and Gabriel is like standing there and gets blasted by this light, and it just burns and rips off and sears Gabriel's wings down to little bloody
you're right.
nubs.
It's Lucifer burns Gabriel's wings away.
Yeah, burns his wings away.
Also been. Mm-hmm. The idea is that basically God did no longer just chooses to not help because he's no longer one of his children, but he doesn't do anything to Gabriel. But then Lucifer is like, well, shield's down, bro.
Yeah.
You tapped out on turn 8, and I have Crater Hook Behemoth in play, in my hand. So
nice. So that effect is great. I guess we're just supposed to assume kind of Gabriel's powers are gone or something. His wings being clipped.
They do say specifically he becomes immortal.
Yeah.
Is the phrase they use.
Oh yeah, because he hates mortals. He thinks they're beneath him. And then I think John even makes some comment like, yeah, well, now you're a man too, you idiot. And
yeah, exactly. Gabriel basically tries to get John to kill him. He's like, nah, I'm good.
Oh, that happens too? Okay, yeah. See, I'm missing all these little things. Whatever, man. This is a pretty crazy all over the place podcast.
It's crazy how much of the subtlety you missed on this not subtle thing. I didn't miss a lot of
subtlety. I just forgot.
I also saw it literally 24 hours ago, and you saw it 1 month. There might be some unfair buffs I have here.
But So, I mean, we're done here, basically. What happens to the Spear of Destiny, actually? Gabriel gets a hold of it, but...
one of the two, I think, let me see if they mention it, but if I'm not mistaken, one of the two beings, receives it, like God or Satan. Gabriel tosses Constantine away, the spear.
Constantine punches the now mortal Gabriel before leaving and entrusts Angelo with securing the spear tip.
The spear, yes, because he even says, I don't even want to know where you, don't tell even me where it goes. But the idea is, he entrusts it to her.
I remember that he punches Gabriel in the stomach. It was a very forceful punch. I remember even thinking like, oh God, that felt like it would have hurt.
Something we haven't mentioned is the visual effects for the demons and the violence.
Yeah, we didn't mention hell.
Yeah, let's talk about their visual design of hell. What did you think of it?
Loved it. It wasn't. It kind of looked like typical. So I think the idea is that hell in this universe is kind of wherever you are. So they're in LA, and the version of hell is LA, but it's all fiery, of course, because that's hell. But it's not quite as on the nose as that. It's hard to describe. There's a wispiness and a visual kind of distortion in hell. It's kind of like you're in a sandstorm where things are...
Kyle.
What?
I think I have what the visual language I was just describing is. It's like Mad Max post-apocalypse with a fire tint and overlay. But it kind of, if you imagine what Mad Max's version of the post-apocalypse is, that's what they're living in with this insane windstorm that is kicking up at all times.
Yes, well said. Yeah, very, very Mad Max-esque. And it's got a great visual, and there's those weird half-head faceless demon things that we mentioned. They're all crawling around, and as soon as you go to hell, it's somewhat docile down there, but then when the demons and stuff realize that you're there, they kind of come out of the woodwork and start chasing you. So when John first goes there, he's walking down the street a little bit. He's looking for Isabel, and it's kind of like a video game, right? Where you're doing the stealth sequence, and he's kind of being inconspicuous, but he is just walking down the street, and he's looking around to be aware of his surroundings. And then, it cuts to a shot of a demon, becoming aware that he's there, and crawls out of a broken, burned down car. And then demons start crawling up from around the bridge. And then the demons kind of show up and attack him. And that's when John grabs Isabel's wrist and gets the wrist tag thing before he's pulled back up to Earth. So...
Yeah, it does imply that he seems to know a specific way to just peace out that they don't really mention, which I think is cool. Because it doesn't. What I like about Hell's, they don't go there very often, but it's often enough. It's a good.
You see it, I think
nice
maybe
balance.
3 total times. Yeah, they don't overdo it. They know what they have. They know it's the perfect of leaving you wanting more. It's really cool. The sequences are fairly short. It's a badass looking area, and then they pull you out of it right when you're like, oh, that's so cool. So
and the effect when they come back and their body is just singeing with steam. Looks so cool too.
Really hot. Yeah, the part where he drowns Angela, he holds her underwater, she goes there, but in order for her to come back, the tub like explodes and she goes launching out of it across the room and he gets thrown back and she starts coughing and everything's steaming.
I don't know how they did it. That was really cool.
Yeah, like I said in the beginning, what really, really carries this movie is just how visually stunning it is, how compelling and clean and concise the action is. They didn't overdo it at all. We didn't talk about the fight with Balthazar, but yeah, it's like Balthazar throws John up against the wall and is kind of choking him, and John tries to shoot him and kind of misses once, and then John is able to maybe John then shoots him and like gets him onto a table and just punches him in the face really, really hard, like 2 times. And it kind of it pulls off Balthazar's human face. The punch is so significant that it like rips the skin off and you see his disgusting, like no nose, green skull looking face underneath. And that's Balthazar's true face. And then Balthazar ends up getting killed and taken back to hell from, I don't know what, Mammon or is Lucifer? I can't remember, but it's not really relevant. I think it's Gabriel, actually. And the scene...
Yes, because the idea was like, you see it from the perspective, so you don't know who he's talking to, and you can't revive me. Wait,
what are you doing? Yeah, help! We're supposed to be doing this together. And then he gets disintegrated back down to hell, and you don't know who did that. It does
obviously kind of make it sense when they would imply that who would he be teaming up with in this scenario, other than like someone who would be like on the opposite end, but who would be his equal? Oh, Gabriel.
Yeah, perhaps the only other character in the movie that is basically portrayed as being able to do that. Yeah. So again, writing is not the strongest, but the visual fidelity of this movie is so high, and it's very fun. The action is great. Like Taylor said, he gave this a 5 out of 10 because the writing was so stupid and bad for him that it's a 5, but the 5 is purely from the rest of it. Everything else is so great. If you ignore, the gimmicky superhero style writing and some of the shoddy acting. The acting isn't even that bad when they're not.
That's the thing. Their acting is good, especially even with, like you said, with Keanu Reeves, even his limited range, they are only putting him in scenarios. Okay, that's not true. Not only scenarios in which he does that, but like it could be worse. But I would say that like Angela's performance is very good, and obviously Tilda Swinton is very good, and Peter Stormare's
great.
Performance at the end is like, as a weird Satan, I was like, yeah, of course, Stormare's so good at that.
He's a very odd Satan. He does a great job of being like showing enjoyment in this weird. He's more like a Joker. I hate to say it, but
he's like a cat who has like the mouse in the mousetrap, and he's just like playing with his food right before he gets to eat it. Like he's just so excited and gleeful, but not in a like gross way, but in a way that you're just like, I don't know, it's kind of interesting to watch. It was really cool.
There's another really funny part I want to mention too. When John is, I don't know why he's able to sort of, this is when he's dead and Lucifer is talking to him. John, I think it's because Lucifer is not really aware of this side scheme that's happening to bring his son to Earth and ruin everything. So John is basically like, yo, this is all happening and Isabel killed herself to try to stop it. Like, you gotta send her to heaven. Get her, she doesn't belong in hell. She committed suicide, but like you said, she more sacrificed herself to stop this terrible thing from happening. So you gotta send her to heaven. And Lucifer's like, oh, fine. And he's like, okay, I'll do it. And you think something exciting is going to happen, and he literally just like rolls his eyes back in his head for 2 seconds. He's like, okay, done. And like, it was a very, you know what scene I'm talking about? It doesn't translate as well to me describing it, but it was really funny. They set it up like you were going to see some kind of ritual or something, like, oh, he was going to use his powers, but he literally just like closes his eyes for a second and it's like, all right, done. That's
really all funny. It takes. And just I don't know if there's anything else I wanted to add other than that. Like, I did know he was in it, and then when he was in it, I was like, oh, I know exactly the type of Satan they're gonna have here.
And then the last scene, the literal last scene, is John like coming out of he's walking out of somewhere, I can't remember where, but he, it's basically like, all right, he's back on the job. He's going to hunt demons, and he pulls something out of his pocket. You can hear some crinkling. You're like, oh my God, he's going to light up another cigarette. And he like begrudgingly puts a piece of gum in his mouth instead.
Yeah, nicotine gum.
Yeah, nicotine gum. And he's like, ah. So yeah, it's just a funny little wink at the end that the movie opens with him kind of smoking, and it closes with him trying not to smoke because he's been healed and cured. Just
I think
really cool, fun movie. It was cool. I don't know if I mentioned
it's one of those that like we were too harsh to this movie by a lot in the past. Like it did decent in the box office, but I remember this just being kind of like a movie that people would talk about in the way that you would think of just like the derivative trash of its era. But I was like, no, I think this movie is just like a solid, like kind of it. I don't want to say it's timeless to make it sound like it's really dramatic, but like
it was ahead of its time.
I feel like. Yeah, like watching in 2025, it doesn't feel out of place in any way. I didn't get. Maybe there might be a shot of the technology that makes it obvious of when it was, but it doesn't feel like it's of its time. It's
because
I will, like I said, that 5 that portrays how good I think it was.
What really? So this movie for sure has a cult status now. Like it is officially a cult classic. Even as evidenced by us watching it and going, "Oh wow, this is way more fun than we gave it credit for." Yeah. The reason why this movie, I think, was lambasted when it first came out, if this movie came out today, I think it would be much more well received, because this movie came out even before the Marvel explosion, where
February 2005 came out.
Yeah, so it came out at a time where the world wasn't really ready for superhero movies that have like style. The James Gunn. This was before Disney created the meat grinder of Marvel movies. Like the writing in this movie, to be clear, is not worse in any way than modern Marvel movies.
I would take this over a modern Marvel writing.
Yeah, okay, yeah, it's better even. I haven't seen a Marvel movie in so long that I don't even remember how. I just know they're all written like this because they're superhero shit. So it's like
the big difference is like. The humor in this movie is that the characters are making jokes as the characters, not the writers laughing at how absurd can you believe this guy? Like they just took what was happening seriously. The movie isn't making fun of itself or you for liking it. Like you should be laughing with the characters because they made a funny joke, and I don't know. It's such a lazy humor. It's the Family Guy. Hey, remember when I don't have to set up this really funny joke premise?
Yeah, like, oh, my character isn't funny at all, but I'm making a joke to add levity to this scene, but it doesn't even make sense or fit. Like, in this world, it's like, no, John is a sarcastic asshole, and it fits within the universe, it fits within the character. So, yeah, that's a good point, too, that the humor in this movie is actually funny and fitting. So this movie it came out in the wrong era. And gladly, or happily... gratefully, what word am I trying to say? It's been more well received later. I'm happy to say that people are looking back on this and going like, oh yeah, after watching dozens and dozens of disgusting Marvel slop, like this is a Marvel movie, basically a superhero movie that has tons of flair and style, and it's well done.
Yeah, I think the world wasn't really ready to take comic book movies like that. I think this movie was an R-rated movie, if I'm not mistaken. Just because the violence is not, and I mean they did depict suicide. Like it seems to me like that might be what pushes it, but like I don't think we were coming off of the 90s were such an edgy era that movies that were kind of edgy feel like a little bit like of the time, kind of the way we think about comic book movies now. I do think that, you think about Iron Man, the tone of that movie felt so different. That's why it's like kind of took off. But it now feels like if I saw Iron Man 1 now, I'd still think like the humor reminds me of the modern Marvel writing. It's just right. My point being that I do think that it's so interesting how many movies are reviewed never in a vacuum. Like sometimes like, how often do you hear when you reevaluate a movie from it like a long time ago, most of the time it's usually better because it's, you just are watching it in a vacuum now instead of like, I don't know what your expectations are for movies of its type. Like, it doesn't have to live up to anything anymore. It's just a weird random movie. And it was before it was like aware that, superhero movies were gonna be popular. Like, I didn't see DC branding anywhere. It made it no effort to try to remind you that it is a comic book movie.
Yeah, not at all.
It just is one.
I would almost say that Disney's Marvel meat grinder has almost done this movie more of a service.
Yes.
Because it's reminded us, like, oh, yeah, we could have cooler superhero movies like this. So if Disney hasn't made their 50,000 disgusting slop garbage Marvel movies, this one probably wouldn't be as well received now.
That's a good point. It's almost the inverse, that if it wasn't like, once again, because our standards have shifted, this type of movie gets benefit from someone actually giving a shit.
Yes, that's a good way to put it too. The standards have shifted, and that's why this movie is so well received now.
So now I'm going to ask you about, if you were to ballpark your feelings on Spider-Man 2.
Yeah.
What are they? Like, get out of 10.
Still like 8 or 9 out of 10. It's so good.
Okay. I was going to ask, like, does it stack up in the like same way that Spider-Man 2 stands up? Or do you think that Spider-Man 2 is still another tier above?
Yeah, Spider-Man 2 is certainly another tier above. That movie...
Okay. Just as a good action movie.
It's just so fucking good. This is, before Marvel ruined superhero movies. This is another example of it's a Constantine-like movie where it's well written. It has a lot of flair. It takes itself seriously enough in a way that, like, I don't know.
Irony that Sam Raimi's like weird sense of humor translates to comic book humor, I think, in a way like the earlier comic book humor, not so much nowadays. Because like Sam Raimi's a weird dude. The movies he makes are just so fucking weird. But I don't know why those movies work, the Spider-Man ones, but for some reason, like. And, like, why does Tobey Maguire work in that movie?
I know, right?
I don't know.
Like, if you think about the actor Tobey Maguire, you're like, oh, he's Peter Parker Spider-Man? You'd be like, what the hell are you talking about?
I love my 30-year-old, 15-year-old, where it's like, you have Tom Holland, who literally looks like that kid needs to get a permit for his driver's license.
Yeah, it works. No, but I would put Constantine absolutely in the same echelon as Spider-Man. It's a classic superhero movie that can definitely be watched and rewatched and deserves its place among the classic greats like Spider-Man 1, Spider-Man 2, and that's about where the list ends for good superhero movies. But and now Constantine.
I would say,
really like
is there any other superhero movies that you can think of that you think are like, this is a good movie?
A good
Man
movie.
of Steel, Kyle?
Whoa!
Come on.
I think Thor Ragnarok. I haven't seen it in a long time. I might like it less now, but I know I've seen it twice, and I liked it both times. The end got annoying because it was the extended action sequence that Constantine, I will remind you all what I said before, condenses that down because they know, or maybe they didn't know and just didn't have the budget. No, the movie had like a $100 million budget, so they had the money. I'm not sure why this movie just did it well enough, Constantine, but yeah, they knew when to pull their punches, pun not intended, but... Thor Ragnarok, the end, the last 20, 30 minutes of the movie is just fighting CGI bullshit. Yeah, it's really boring.
And I'd say the reason Thor Ragnarok holds up is because it's like What We Do in the Shadows kind of like spin-off episode. So it's just like, it's just a cool, fun little comedy thing. And then like, I'm sure Iron Man 1 probably holds up enough.
I think Iron Man 1 is still solid. I believe I've rewatched it somewhat recently, and I was like, yeah, this is still good. I mean... Robert Downey Jr. is just such a force. He's so perfect as Tony Stark.
It's one of those things that I think that it was the perfect casting at the right time. Like, if you had anyone else there, I don't know if you needed to give a 10 out of 10 performance. Like, a character that's like transformative.
The Dark Knight, I mean...
Oh, sure. I forget about those being superhero movies.
Yeah, because they're pretty grounded. I will say The Dark Knight is actually not that great. Heath Ledger casts a fucking spell on you. He is beyond normal acting here. Like, he's just a tour de force of this movie. And when you watch it, basically all the scenes he's not in, you're just waiting to see him again. And so he does this thing where, like, he's just so powerful and good that you think the whole movie is better than it is. And when you if you think about the scenes he's not in instead of thinking about only the scenes he's in, because that's what you do when you think about The Dark Knight, you go, oh my God, yeah, the Joker, Heath Ledger, that's great. But if you think about the movie subtracting him, it's like, oh no, it's actually like kind of bad and boring and lame. And like Christian Bale's a great actor, but he's a really boring Batman. And the movie kind of falls apart if you take out Heath Ledger. So the more I've seen The Dark Knight, the less I like it each time. And it's because I'm like becoming more... Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, so the strengths are as good as you remember, but like the weaknesses are way more obvious now. Though I think it's the thing over time you've really like fallen out of love with Christopher Nolan and his work, that I think like the weaknesses feel stronger to you now than they did when, you know.
Kind of, yeah. I mean, I'm kind of a bona fide Christopher Nolan hater, but I have no problem admitting when he makes a good movie. Like I've said before on this podcast, Oppenheimer blew me the fuck away.
Yeah, that's true.
It is such a phenomenally good movie. I'm actually having a hard time bringing myself to watch it again because it's so powerful and moving, and it's also 3 hours long, so it's quite a commitment if you want to rewatch it. But yeah, I don't know. Christopher Nolan, he's massively overrated. I think Dunkirk fucking sucks. Like, actually just sucks. It's well made, of course, because it's Christopher Nolan. He makes good movies, but the actual... whatever. We're talking... We're going to start a different podcast here. Yeah, what's up?
The last superhero movie I needed your read on, apparently The Incredibles. That doesn't count.
No.
Logan was the last one.
Another good one. I have only seen it the once, and I really liked it when I saw it.
Holy shit, I was not ready for how good that movie was when I went into it. It may not, like, it could have been because my expectations were where it was, and I think it also came out of, like, could you make a movie, a superhero movie at that time and not make $2.19 trillion quadrillion dollars? It just also happened to be very good on top of it. But
I'm realizing all the movies we're talking about are the superhero movies that are very grounded and take themselves just seriously enough. Like Logan, Spider-Man 1 and 2, Constantine, The Dark Knight. These are all really grounded in reality superhero movies, and they're well done.
Or on the opposite end, like weirdly, Thor Ragnarok, the one that is like, just won't even start, won't assume it's taking itself seriously.
Exactly.
And
it's the opposite. The polar opposite.
Whereas instead of having 80% of the cast and writing try and take itself seriously, and then the main characters were refusing. Anywho, I just thought that would be a way to fit that question in a podcast in which, when else would I would ask? The
Constantine superhero podcast. Yeah, no, good questions.
I would change my rating up to... I'm not going to on Letterboxd. I've locked in the 5. But I would up it to at least a 6 or a 7 now if I were to, like, someone were to ask. Based on when you consider it in, like, the grand scheme of the type of movie it is. But then it almost makes me mad of, like, this movie could have been a 8 or a 9 to me. If it just, like... was different.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's much better, like, talking, as we assume, is like, when we talk through it, I am here to appreciate it more, for sure.
Yeah, I think you just needed your expectations, mine do too, but your expectations warp how you perceive a movie quite a bit.
Yeah.
Just historically, knowing you over your whole life.
Mud will always be the one.
Huh?
Mud was always the movie.
That's
That's the first one I think we encountered it where you were just like, that's a really weird reason to not like a movie, and then I killed your cat in response.
What the fuck are we talking about?
Nothing. I never did that.
Taylor killed my cat and replaced him with a perfect identical clone, I guess.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah. Expectations severely warp how you perceive a movie. So if you watch this thinking like, no, this is a superhero movie, now watch it. Instead, you watched it as like, immediately, like, you kind of went into it. Well, no, if you went into
it's kind of like, think about it this way. What do you think is a better way to review a movie? The way it sells itself to you by itself? Or should I have the burden of being like, well, it's this, so I should lower my... Like, I'd argue that fair. I stand by that, like, it shows that it's capable of being better and then drops the ball, and it's just because it's in a genre, like, I think that's why The Dark Knight, or like in some ways, these movies are remembered better, is because they rise above the genres, like kind of like, oh, it's a cartoon, no one cares. It's like, what? Would you say that about Akira? Why is Akira one of the greatest movies ever made? Nothing to do with the fact that it's an anime. I didn't just like, well, it's an anime, so you should drop your expectations. It's like,
True.
I think that
Yeah.
superhero theme, like Boys season 1 is a superhero show. Like, you know what I mean? Like, but that season of television to me is just fucking a bomb ass season of television that uses superheroes as a genre to talk, So
Yes.
that's why I'm not mad, I'm disappointed with this movie of like, clearly they had the talent to make something better than it was, but for what it wasn't bad. And that's why I end on like a 5, because it's just like half the time I'd be like edge of my seat, and then I'd like want to sit back and be like, okay, all right, Chaz, we get it. You're not cool, and you're really selling how cool you are right now to John. John, please, Dad, I want to go up.
I missed the
ride."
post-credit scene. I didn't know it had one.
What?
Did you see
There
that?
is?
Yeah, I was.
No.
Yeah, apparently there's a scene where John visits Chaz's grave, and he like sees Chaz as an angelic form of himself or something. I just read it on the wiki while we were.
Huh.
But I didn't know there was a post-credit scene. See, it's a Marvel movie, man. Superhero.
Look, and it's kind of weird when you consider like because it's a comic, like they could throw in any kind of reference and stuff, and like post credit scenes, man. Remember when they were just like fun throwaway, like that to me
Like that
is
one,
a good
yeah.
example. It's just kind of like an additional. The Sinners has a good post credit scene, but also a bad example of it too.
Where it's setting up some franchise or
No,
the framework
it's
for
actually
later.
No, it's actually kind of my problem was like it's a scene that wraps up a storyline for a character.
Oh,
Like why put the yeah, it's one of those things of just like, no, the scene should have just been before the credits started to roll, or like they play another post credit scene that is the like, this guy 80 years later is still doing this thing, and it's just like, oh, that's fun. That should have been your post, but for some reason they flipped those two. So like the character defining moment is shown as like a reward for sticking through. It's like, fuck you, buddy. Ryan Coogler's nuts for doing that to me.
Well said. All right, we're done with this podcast. I'm forced closing this because no one's listening at this point anyway, because I've just been rambling.
Okay, that's true. All right, well, until next time, make sure you go to hell with a cat.
That's correct. Make sure you put your feet in the water before you go to hell. We'll see you guys next time.
Bye-bye.